Hello, Mr. Funsta. Is that you, sir?
Yes, I'm here.
We are recording, so to my listeners, Mr. Funsta and I were playing a little What's Up tag there. Thank you, sir, for taking the time to talk. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Just had my wisdom tooth taken out though still, so healing up nicely.
I bet. I, like you, am someone who opted out of that at a young age. Like, you know what? I'm assuming in Britain, is it common for you guys to have your wisdom teeth pulled at a young age?
I'm not quite sure really. I mean, I haven't had no real problems with my teeth until recently, and I'm far from a teenager, so I don't know. But I think maybe it's all the sweets, I guess. You know what I mean? And all the flipping beer that we drink and all of that is just rotting our teeth and the smoking and that. So we have to keep an eye on that over here. Trust me, we've got bad teeth over here.
Definitely. No, it's a stereotype that British people have bad teeth. That's the going.
Exactly. I've seen the cartoons.
We've all seen the cartoons. Myself, like I say, I opted not having them removed. Luckily, one of them rotted completely and just disappeared. The dentist, when he did an X-ray of my mouth, was like, "I can't believe that happened, and you didn't feel any pain."
Yeah.
I had to have the other three removed, though. But I hope you feel better. And with that, I'll jump into my first question. I'm guessing, since you are in pain and probably bedridden, you're playing a lot of video games right now. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I was actually about to start playing Gears of War. That's my favorite game of all time. Favorite game of all time, yeah. When you really want to let off and have that close quarters, you want to feel a kill, you have to play Gears of War. You know what I mean? It's very frustrating and it helps release stress. It's good.
And if anybody wanted to play you online, do you mind sharing your gamer name?
Yep, Funsta MC. Simple as that. Oh, Funsta actually. No, it's just Funsta.
Just Funsta?
Xbox One. Xbox, yeah. I'm Xbox, not PlayStation, no.
All right, guys. And yes, unfortunately, I am a PlayStation guy, so I'm unable to play you, but...
Yeah, I mean, what's it, Destiny for PlayStation, really? I don't really know what else you lot got, really, man.
Well, to be honest...
You can't be Gears, you have to get on the Xbox.
I was an Xbox guy before the Xbox One, and I got very upset with it because of that Ring of Death, the red ring that you'd get.
Yeah, that's old school. I mean, the technology's improved a lot since then. I mean, you used to get on the PlayStation as well. I swear something used to happen on the PlayStation where it wouldn't turn on as well, and it had some kind of, plus also the online thing as well got hacked that time for PlayStation.
The thing that I went
to PlayStation because you didn't have to pay for the online service.
We do now. We do.
Yes, now you have to pay. It's secure. Makes sense. You get me? So yeah, they took that off Xbox. So, but yeah, it's I'm not really into the actual consoles personally now. It's just more the games. And Gears of War happens to be my favorite game. And if that was out on PlayStation, I guarantee you I'd have a PlayStation instead of an Xbox. But it's only out on Xbox and PC.
It's smart.
So I have to. Yeah, it's my favorite games. I have to go where whoever's making my food, I have to go there to eat it. You know what I mean?
Exactly that. It's very smart of them to align themselves with a game console and say we're only going to make for this. That way, you get these culturalistic followings of if you are this type of gamer, you own this system, and therefore, you know what I mean. It's the same thing with phones too. Are you an iPhone or an Android guy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, with that. If you guys want to play them, make sure you add them. I got to ask you this because I know you're a fun guy. Who's your favorite pop group, if you had to pick one, throughout the years? Spice Girls, Backstreet Boys, pop music.
As in commercial act. Like
yes.
Some really cheesy, my favorite cheesy chart topping, or you say pop group, I can say like Wu-Tang Clan or something like that, or you talking Spice Girls type.
I'm talking more Spice Girls, but if you want to put Wu-Tang Clan in that same category, I'm fine with that.
Would they be a pop group? I guess they were popular if you're using pop in that term. But I'd say favorite pop group of all time.
Do you have like a silent delight that you don't tell people about? Like, do the Backstreet Boys come on the radio and you start singing along?
No way. It'd probably be something like Jodeci, though. Something like that. If you're talking like Boys to Men, that kind of era R&B.
Okay.
If we're talking bands, I mean, I do like that stuff.
Well, no, that's good music, man.
Cool.
The Boys to Men were good.
Music. Yeah, it's classic. I mean, they don't really do it no more now. It's all turned into house music. But yeah, I'd say maybe a Jodeci or H Town, or if you was talking on a singy band thing. But if it's a, like Wu Tang, obviously is up there. But I don't have a particular favorite. I like a lot of things. I just like things that are real. Do you know what I mean? That I can resonate with and relate with. To be fair, so even my favorite groups have made music that I don't like. You get what I'm saying?
For
So
sure.
it depends what they're making at the time.
Well, no, and that happens to me too. A band that comes to mind right away is Korn. I like heavy metal rock kind of music, and they were great. And then they came out with like their fourth album, and I was like, this is garbage. But a lot of people liked it, so I'm like, you know what? It's just I still appreciate them and love them for the music they did make, but the stuff they're putting out today is just not my cup of tea, and it's become
And that, well, this is what I'm saying. Back to bringing that sort of analogy to me in my career, sort of thing. A lot of people like Korn. They can't do the same thing year in, year out. They have to evolve too. They're getting older. Some of their content and subject matter will change through experience. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes it ain't always about, head banging. And you know what I mean? Sometimes they might have changed a bit now that they know better, and they're trying to, forward that onto their fans. That's why I guess a lot of people do like it still. But I can understand why you might not like it, because you just want to turn on the Korn and get a certain vibe that you get from them. You know what I mean? And they're
totally.
just moving forward, I guess. That's the thing. You have to.
As an artist,
People say,
I respect that. I can understand that because
yeah,
you got to keep making art, not trying to make art that people once liked, right?
but that's just my opinion. I respect Korn, for example, for doing that, because that's how I move. I like to move. I don't like doing the same thing twice. I always want to, I do one flow, then I want to try and invent a new one, and then invent a new one after that. Whereas a lot of people stick with the one thing, do it over and over and over and over, and it works for them. Do you know what I mean? But for me, that's a little bit boring. You get me? I can't. There's no progress. There's no evolution in it, and it's just, I might as well just listen to the first album. If the first album's going to sound like the fifth album, then there's no progress.
Well, and that's okay. That's a profound topic. I'm going to try not to go too deep on this, but I want to dig in on that because for me, when I listen to Korn, I'm sure they've progressed. However, their sound to me isn't a progressed sound. It's a different sound. It's that they're doing different things. It's not like, oh, these guys have declined and gotten better and now they're doing this. Like when I listen to Fun though, and I listen to Funsta, and by that I mean I listen to MC Fun 1998 to 2002 ish, and then I listen to Funsta 2009 and onward. I hear two totally different guys, and I do hear progression. I hear a guy
Yeah.
who's really come a long way, and what I want to know is, was that a natural evolution from you, or did you say to yourself, I want to be better, I want to challenge myself?
You know what? It was in, I think it was Astoria, 2001. I think I done a set with Shy FX and DJ Kane, and I was on with Original Nutter, UK Apache, and we was doing a back to back, and I had a bit of a sore throat that night. So I just said to myself, you know what, just do what you can. And so I'm using my energy, but obviously my voice is sounding a certain way because of this sore throat that I had. So when I listened back to the tape back months later, it came out, I listened back to it, and I thought, well, I sounded okay there because I sounded like myself. So once I listened to that, I made a decision to not. I made a decision to be me, and I said to myself, you know what? Because a lot of people was like Inside the Ride, it was that kind of era I came from. It's like garage, drum and bass, jungle. It had a certain tone in the voice. Selector, come on, everyone was putting on these mad voices to sort of sound like ravey MCs. It was almost like he was mocking it. Do you know what I mean? So I was doing that when I first started out. Obviously, I was young. I was just thinking, yeah, this is how you MC kind of thing. So although I had my material, the sound of my voice I had to change up a bit because that's what the sound was at the time. But then after listening to that set and after doing that set, I just said to myself, I've got my bars and I know my bars are good. at that time, I said, I know my material is good. So it's just down to my voice. And I just said to myself, you know what? Either you like my voice or you don't, but you can't knock the bars. So that's why I just said, no, I'm just going to do my own voice. And it saved a lot of energy. It was more relaxing to do sets. And that's all it was, just having confidence in your own voice. You know, and that's why when I hear certain MCs today, still in 2018, putting on that, whoa, 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 come on, you know, it's like, bruv, be yourself. Be yourself. You'll be amazed at what you can achieve when you actually, you know, give in to yourself instead of worrying about trends and what people are gonna think. Literally, I just thought to myself, I don't care it's my voice. So you either like my voice or you don't, but it's me, it's a part of me, it's my voice. So I can't change that. You know what I mean? I can do a sort of be real from Cyprus here, you know, and all that kind of stuff, but it takes a lot of energy. And you don't talk like that like now. I'm talking to you, this is how I MC, with the same voice. It might have a bit more power and passion in it, obviously, if I'm spraying bars, you know, but yeah, man, you have to have confidence in your own voice, in what you have. And that's what it was. It was basically an epiphany. Yeah.
That's interesting to me because hearing you say it, I am a guy who puts on a voice. I'm an MC myself, and I put on a voice when I say certain things like selecta or rinse out. But when I kick bars, I don't. I can't contain the same voice at that time, right? But I think I have to say I was influenced by guys like yourself, you know, doing that rinse out, you know, like
because that's how I started as MC Fun.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But when you spit bars, you don't sound like that. So when you listen back to yourself, there's parts of the set that you cannot really recognize because it's not you. You're putting on a voice. So your friends and family might listen to the set and think, well, who's that? But then when you spit a bar, they go, oh, that's you. So then you look at that and you think to yourself, well, why have I got all these different voices? Let me just stick to my one voice. That's me, that's who I am, that's what I was born with. And you never know, it might be unique. Your tone, you know, look how many artists are out there that are basically big because of the sound of their voice, not even what they're saying. They've just got this unique sounding voice, singers and all of that. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, man, have faith in yourself. You know, I see a lot of people putting on accents from areas of the world they're not from, you know, and this is what I'm saying. It's like you have to represent yourself, represent you as a person, and at least you can stand there and say, look, this is me. And I'm repping me. This is it. You know what I mean? So whether you like it or not, I don't care. You cannot knock the bars. What I'm saying to you is real. And that's what you have to do. Your content if your content is real, you don't have to cover it with some fake voice or tone from a region. I could go, hey, MC Funsta, and I'm the maker, like I'm from some region of the world. Then it's like, well, why am I doing that?
Well, but here's the thing. In defense to people that do that, you're from the region of the world that everyone is imitating. It's not like,
in a way,
people aren't here. Hold on. I have to say, there's nobody in England right now trying to sound like they're from Florida. You know what I mean? Like,
well, you'll be surprised. I mean, with all this, with the music, with the rap music now, all that sort of Migos stuff, you know, the Memphis, all of these musics coming out now. We've got the same, you know, in drill music. So although we're still using our UK accents, the flows and the slang are still coming from the States in the most part. I mean, we still got our own slang, but there's still, you know, bands and all these words that they use in American hip hop nowadays. It crosses over the waters. So, and they're not putting on accents. Hip hop artists ain't putting on, sometimes they do in a line or something, but they're ripping their ends. Or, you know, and if you're American, they're going to have an American accent. So if I'm from the UK and I start spitting bars like, a Funsta, a lyrical monster, and trying to put on an American accent, what are people going to say? So it's no different. You know what I mean? If I put on an American accent and spit bars and I'm from England, do you know what I mean? It's like, well, hold on, you're not American, so why do you sound like that? Be yourself. That's why I think people like, you know, Skinner, you know, streets. That's why he blew up, because he was like one of the first sort of grime acts to fully tap into the English accent in its rawest form, Cockney accent, sort of London Cockney accent. Yeah, mate, yeah, and that's what the world kind of knows us for over
Oh,
here.
yes, totally.
So yeah, I mean, so we've got Commonwealth, we've got Jamaicans, we've got Indians, we've got Australians, we've got loads of countries that are connected to the UK that we can, tap into as on a cultural level. But it don't make no sense me spitting my bars in an American accent. And I love the American accent. Don't get it twisted. I would love to spray my bars in an American or Canadian. Both of them. I mean, I know you go, oh no, we don't sound nothing like them or whatever, but trust me, you two's accent, the way you talk, you can rhyme more. You can rhyme easier because you can twang off a word and make it sound a certain way to rhyme with another word. But when you're spitting in, the English, Queen's English, Cockney sort of slang, it's hard to do that, Rice rhymes with nice, whereas you can say rice and then say Royce the 5'9". You can do loads of things with that accent. So, it has its appeal. So, yeah, be yourself. And if you are gonna, use another sound in your voice or vocals or whatever, that's just got to be a little parody or, a respect thing. You can do the odd line, but there's no point in chatting like a Jamaican, like Bob Marley, if you're English from, I don't know, Norwich. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make no sense.
No, I totally get what you're saying.
And I respect artists who are real to themselves first, because you've done your time now fitting in. Now it's time to stand out.
Well, and one thing about you that I noticed beyond being yourself is being more lyrically inclined. You say your lyrics have always been a strong part of you, but when I look at or listen, when I think of you, okay, I think of you as somebody who was more of a host, more of a moose, a 5-0. There was an MC, I remember EA, and I remember you and EA did some sets back in the day that I heard, and I was like, these guys go well back to back. But the fun that came out, like I say, the one that's out now, Funsta, I call you, is much more in the category of a Skibba, Shaba, Ratachat kind of. Yeah, and your lyrics are fun. You've always been fun. Your name is very good for who you are. But there's much more lyrical content, and there's deep meaning. Like I should have taken notes, but one that jumps out to me right now is the one where you're talking about a suicide bomber. Do what you like, do what you wanna. Don't grow up to be a suicide.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's classic.
Well, but I remember the first time I heard it, I was like, listen to what he's saying, man. He's got a message right now. And then I heard it. You did it in a little battle with grime MCs versus drum and bass MCs. And that was, I think, the first time I heard you going lyrical, and I was like, and then since then it's just been nonstop lyrical, deep. You have a message in your stuff. Was that always a part of you that I missed out in the beginning, or is that something that's more new to you?
Well, that's always been a part of me, because I used to do hip hop anyway. I used to be in a couple groups with the man them, and from college days and school days and all of that, making the odd track. I even met Harry Shotter when he was my oldest Shotter when I met him. I think he might have been 11 or something. He was a kid, and I was like, I don't know, maybe 5 years older than him at the time. So I was like teenager, let's say maybe 15, 16 or whatever, and he was 11 going on 12. And that's how we met. He was doing his hip hop. I was doing my hip hop. That's where I started. This is like before not before jungle, but in a sense before drum and bass MCing was even a thing, really. Do you know what I mean? So I was already doing the lyrical thing on a hip hop, doing shows with my group and whatnot, boom, boom, boom. But then back then, it wasn't digital. We had to spend loads of money on reels and things like that. We're basically kids, really, and it's expensive to maintain. A couple of us got a couple girls pregnant. Boom, we're having kids, we're having families. We have to work. We're 18 now, 19. We're following the dream. We've got responsibilities. Sooner or later, you can't keep going in the studio. Life takes over. You get me? So when that happened, I just decided, well, I don't want to really give up my bars, even though a lot of the other guys just moved on with their lives. I was like, no, let me carry on. What's there? And then I saw like jungle music, and heard a few MCs on there. MC Det, Fearless, Times 2, Cool FM. And I was like, yeah, I like this. We used to go up into a couple of the raves, Jungle Fever, back in the days, all of us piling up in a Fiat Uno on the motorway and it breaking down and us getting towed to the rave. I can tell you all sorts of stories. And that was what we used to do, and listen to Det and whatnot in the crowd, what was in the crowd getting messy and whatnot as kids. And I thought, I can do this, so, and a couple of the man then thought, yeah, this is good. We got the decks, started MCing, doing the little pirate radio shows and blah, blah, blah. And basically the rest is history. That was my link into the music, because it was something where I could pick up the mic. I don't have to pay for studio time, nothing. I could just turn up and just spray for the fun of it. And that's why I carried it on. And this was the only platform in the UK where you could literally pick up a mic and just spray bars for the sake of it. I wasn't a bashment artist, so I couldn't really turn up to sounds, because we had sounds and all of that, and you had the sound man them, so they go to pull up and all them things there. But that weren't really my forte. And you needed to know someone to get in on that. You can't just jump on a sound thing, Ragga Twins and them were holding them things down, Navigator and all of that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, for me it was just like, it's a natural progression of me just carrying on, spitting bars without it breaking my bank. Can do a couple shows. So I was bringing my hip hop flows to drum and bass, and trying to merge the two together so that it came out with some kind of an original flow, because I didn't want to sound like anybody else either. I wanted to come in original, and that's what I did, come in with my content. Everyone was going and all of that kind of stuff, and all them kind of, rolling their tongues and all of this stuff, and talking about the alphabet and whatnot. Do you know what I mean? So there was big bars in the scene then, but I wanted to sort of bring it a bit more real, because that's why I was on the hip hop then. So I wanted to bring something more socially viable. I wanted people to relate to what I was saying, like you said, the suicide bomber things, things like that. So I started bringing content into the scene. I still weren't big enough then, but I just stuck to my guns. I thought, yeah, my bars are good, and I was getting a lot of respect from people like Fearless. He was like one of the first MCs to really give me respect for my content.
Well, and that's a big respect to get, because the guys, you hinted at alphabet guys who roll their tongues and can do a great job of hosting. People love to see them, but there is no sustenance when you break down the lyrics. My buddy and I were listening to a set that gentleman did the other night, and we were saying, like, as much as he owns a crowd and stuff, he is who he is, and people love to hear it, but it's like, next please. And but
even to that, like I said, that's the thing with that though, is that's fine, but that's him. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I don't want to come and do that again. Do you know what I mean? Whereas a lot of people were just doing that as well because, like, let's say, at the top MC at the time was doing that, so everyone else was trying to follow that, thinking that that was the route to go. Totally. Whereas in my opinion was, that's what he does, and I respect that. Now, what do I do? Do you know what I'm saying? I've got to do something now for me that defines who I am. So it wasn't really a thing where, because at the time, it wasn't even really too about lyrics. You see that Stevie I P D, he was coming off with some conscious bars still. When you listen to Stevie I P D and what he was actually saying in his lyrics, he was up there. He was tapping into the social streams and what was going on a daily basis, as well as a couple of little jokey bars for the rave, because you have to understand it's drum and bass or jungle at the time. People haven't come there to see a Wu-Tang concert or a Nas concert spitting bars and whatnot. They've come to listen to the music and get gassed. Do you know what I mean? That's what they've come for, really.
And one thing I got to say about
took me a long time to get used to.
Sorry to cut you off on stuff. One thing that really, as a Toronto listener hearing Stevie, the things he talked about, I was oblivious to when he would talk about me no like the way the jungle ravers get singled out. We don't want to see the drug and I was like, what is he talking about? And people would explain to me, you got to see what the parties are like over there. Like, it's rough, man. And I'm like, what? And over here, I was what they called a candy kid. We wore furry pants and took ecstasy pills. Like, we were very loving kids. So I didn't know that existed. So when I heard it in his lyrics, I was exposed, I guess, to that side of the jungle culture. And I don't know, like it's like you say, his lyrical content was beyond magnificent. He was able to sum up the rave scene and bring it a sense of what we call plur, I guess, peace, love, unity, and respect. And he did. He bridged that gap between the gangsters and the ravers with his lyrics.
Yeah. And that's why I say in the order, like I said back in the day, I was listening to Fearless, Debt, and Times 2, and obviously Stevie IPD. Then you have to speak about Skibbity, because at the end of the day, when you're talking about MCs that have influenced what happens today, they're basically the 5 that have influenced me in a certain way. Like, not necessarily personally, like the only person that really influenced me that I can say that really thought, you know what, I listened to this guy hard, was MC Det. MC Det was the guy who was the cool FM, but I don't sound at all like that. But it was what you get what I'm saying? He made me think, yeah, this is hard. So I never remember, Skibbity weren't around then times. Skibbity wasn't out then when I was listening to Jungle and Cool FM and I was going to rave. Skibbity was doing the same thing. He was probably at Laserdrome and whatnot, trying to come through himself as an MC, whereas I was just a raver liking the music, trying to get on radio stations, pirate radio stations, just to do a little thing. Skibbs was doing his thing, and then he emerged. He got on Cool FM, you know, a long time ago, and blah blah, and then he changed the game. You know, no one can't deny that. You know,
No.
At the end of the day, he came with his flows, and in a sense, he came with a lot of content and flows as well. So when he done that changed up the game again, and opened the door, because it was all ragga back then. You know, even Stevie IPD, Junglers, are you ready? Even though he had the fast chatting, a lot of his material was sort of reggae based as
100%.
well, you know, in a sort of, you know, West Indian culture. So Skibbs kind of came and sort of brought a generic kind of tone to it. You didn't, you know, it's almost like you don't have to come from here. You don't have to have this accent to spit on this music. You get what I mean? And that's what I took from Skibbs. Not his lyrics, not his flows or whatever. It was the fact that he was able to come in and use his own voice. You see what I'm saying? Even though he might have been putting on tones and whatnot, but when you listen to the old school tapes, it probably sounds the same. His voice hasn't changed, does it?
No.
So he was basically the first man, you know, Det's voice hasn't changed either, but no one can recreate Det's voice. Do you know what I mean? Det is known for his voice. His voice is amazing. You know, deep in the jungle, you know, and all of that. You know, I can't even do that.
You did it perfectly,
you know what I mean?
though. That was perfect, actually.
Yeah, but yeah, thank you. I'll give it a 9. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. But yeah, you know, so he had the voice. So already, he'll just say something on the mic, and he's got the crowd. Do you know what I mean? I knew I never had that because I was putting on tones to try and be that, but it would never be sounding real. Do you get what I'm saying? So I said, yeah. But remember what I was saying before? Discarded that and just became myself. Like I said, that's what Skipper did. He used his own voice.
Well, and I want to talk. I want to dive in on that for a second, talking about debt, and talking about using your own voice. One of the things I've heard from people across the Atlantic is that they like listening to us Americans because they can understand us better. That our words are enunciated and they're clear. Det is somebody who I listened to in the early days. I still love throwing on some Det, but his voice, yes, he can say the word lighter and grab a crowd, like you said, just saying the word. His lyrics, I remember that he's got one where he says, what does he say? I see the crowd like an orchestra, yeah, me conduct ya, I got ya, ready to rock ya, the body structure. I see the crowd like an orchestra, yeah, me conduct ya. You know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, that rhyme, when I figured it out, because I used to sit there with the tapes and a pen and paper and rewind the tape and play it again and try. He was the hardest, because not only were his lyrics formulated in a way that wasn't structured, like Stevie and stuff, they were mainly, I don't know how to describe it other than they rode the beat, whereas Det became a part of the beat, and you couldn't distinctualize between his lyrics and the actual beat, because he would do this like I don't know how to describe it. It was just like, holy shit, what did he just say there? But amazing. And yeah, when you broke down his words, like talking about Skibba's lyrical content, when they did the 2-time freestyle gig and they did that slow-mo, quick flow, ready to unload, that stuff, that was where you really got to hear Skibba's lyrical abilities, and they played so well together. And
Yeah.
They complemented each other. They actually came out here in '99 and did a jam called Throwdown. That's when I got to see Det for the first time, and his voice matched his look. Like, he's a beast of a man. You know, you can. There's,
Yeah.
what a presence.
So yeah, his voice suits.
Totally, man. Like, I'm not that way fun. I don't know if you can't see me right now, but I come off as a much bigger sounding guy, and a lot of times people will make a funny face when they meet me, and I could tell it's because they're expecting something different. I'm a very small white guy, so they're like, "Wow, you not what I thought." Same thing.
Projection, yeah.
Right, and with Shubba, had the same thing. Like, his voice isn't necessarily deep or commanding, but his flow, I thought he was going to be a black guy. So when I went and saw him, and I was like, "Oh, I can do this too then. Okay, this is good."
Yeah. Well, he lit the way again. Like I said, he done something which enabled, you know, a lot of young people that weren't necessarily from that side of the culture to tap into it, because he was the first of. That's why I give Shabba a lot of props for that time, because he was, you know, to be blatant, he was basically the only white guy spitting like that, you know, and no one weren't saying nothing to him. He was basically spitting like a black guy. There was loads of people out there that thought he was black before they met him. Do you know what I mean? I think maybe I did when I first heard him. He had some Shabba's got a serious voice as well. You know?
Yeah.
But like you said, back with the Det thing, if you take the voice away, like you were saying, the lyrical flows that he had or has are sick. Like it's just, it's quick. It's so quick. And it was, you know, at the time I was kind of amazed by that. That's why I was taken in by it. That's why it'd always be one of my top three of all time.
You know,
MCs.
it's as you're saying it, I'm just thinking of his rhymes in my head, and it's not just it's the structure, like the flow, the rhythm that he naturally created. Like, the one I think of now is that vibing, never tiring, I'm like providing, throw your hands in the air, show. You know what I mean? Like,
because he's an artist. Because you know what, he's an artist, isn't it?
He is.
He's more than just an MC. That's what I'm saying. Like you said, he linked up with Skibbs and done the two times freestyle thing for him. So he's moving more than just, you know, sort of like us getting a mic in a club and maybe doing a bit of radio. They've taken it beyond that. So, do you know what I mean? You have to recognize that they're artists now, really, or were even back then. They was doing this stuff a long time. You know, you're talking about nearly 10 years or so, more than 10 years, 20 years ago. Coming up to what's the date? 2018 to 2008, let's say 98. Yes, so you're looking about maybe 15 odd years ago. Do you know what I mean? So artists, they was thinking bigger picture then, and that's what I respect that, because he's always had a mind on that bigger picture, and it's just, in a sense, in my opinion, a shame that the scene didn't enable him to do more. I think
his career's not over, fun. Let's not say that it's done. There's lots of room for growth, and maybe he will hit a higher pinnacle than he already has.
Yes, we're still working. I know he is as well. He's still putting out music. Do you know what I mean? We're still going and blah blah blah. But now it's not. Remember back then it was all peace, love, unity, a family, the scene, we're all together.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's why a lot of things were able to work back then, especially in Canada as well. Look at the parties that you lot were having back then. And the radio shows, you know, that was it Swanee, Nicky Black Market, you know, they're legendary sets out there. Mm-hmm. It was massive, you know. I mean, I'm not saying it ain't massive now, but it's not as massive as it was it? You know, I go to Toronto and yeah, there's things kicking off, and there's still lots of big parties when you think of like Wemp and other things, but there used to be more, you know.
Well, and what I got to say is, if Wemp isn't happening anymore. That's been done now for a few years. But I want to say that the first time I saw you come, I think it was the first time you came, if I'm not mistaken, with Rough Stuff. Was that your first time coming to Toronto? It was at Turbo, or it might have been called Cobra at the time. But
what was the event called?
I don't know. But what I do remember is, and I'll say that, let me say sidebar for a second and say, every MC looks the same as they did the first time I saw them, except you. The first time I saw you, you had glasses, you were wearing a winter toque kind of like hanging off your head, and you looked like you just came out of a IT studio, like you were a computer kind of technician. And then the next time I saw you, you were wearing a tank top, you were jacked to shit, you weren't wearing any glasses, And I'm like, that's Funsta?
All right, let me explain. Yeah, let me explain. So basically, what happened is, yeah, back then, like I said, I was young. So obviously, I grew up a bit. Do you know what I mean? Started eating more food, doing a bit of training, and as for the glasses, I had laser eye surgery. So because I used to hate going to swim, like when I wanted to swim, how can you swim with glasses on?
You can't?
Exactly. So Too Shy, MC Too Shy.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, that's a mad story as well. MC Too Shy had a link for one of these, doctors that do that thing. So he was doing it on the cheap. This is back in the day as well. You got to imagine how long ago this was. This is when getting your eyes done was scary. You know, there was because you'll see scratches for the rest of your life and all of this stuff. But Too Shy and I went, got the link, boom, 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 paid cheap money, and I just thought, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it, man. And I just did it, boom, and now it's 20/20 vision. The rest is history.
Well, okay, then I have to say, maybe your eyes weren't good the first time I saw you because it was only me. Like, I know you are definitely right in saying that we've come along. We are not in our pinnacle, but I hope to get there again. And we were definitely doing better in, let's say, 98 to 2003, 2004, I'd say. But when I came out to see you that night, I remember being the only person on the dance floor. And I danced in front of you. That's how you might remember me. I was the little redhead kid who was dancing in front of you.
So that must have been what's his name, Carl Collins. Was he doing an event? I think it was me and Rostov done an event for Carl Collins and the Black Market shop.
Yes, it was Carl. Yes, Carl and
Carl, that was it.
I knew Renee
Carl's
better than Carl. So it was Renee and Carl. Yes, now that you say, I'm like, Carl. Who's Carl? Carl. Oh, Carl. Yeah, it was Carl.
That might have been. Yeah, there's a lot of sort of mistakes made in that promotion. Let's just say that. But I don't actually count that as my first time. Really, I just went over there. I don't even think it was really a booking. I was just going over there to link up with Carl, and they kind of threw me on. I think they wanted to book rough stuff. You know what I mean? There was no real big rages in there for me or nothing. Do you know what I mean? So totally. I just came along, and that's why you saw me there.
Do you remember me? I was the guy that was there.
I probably don't even know, to be fair. Because when I think of Toronto and good party, one of the best parties I've done was for this guy. I can't remember his name, but they had illustrated, like basically they had women there basically painted. I'll never forget because they had basically naked women, but they were painted with clothes on.
Yeah, I've done that before.
So they looked like they was dressed anyway, but they were actually naked. It was like a model, a fashion show that was going on and blah, blah, blah. And that was massive. I can't remember the name of that dance, but that was the first dance I'd done in Toronto where I thought, yeah, this is a party. It was jammed to the rafters. You know, I think they had some dub and reggae on downstairs. And a massive, we was on the top stage, main arena, club was lovely. Like I said, there was a fashion show, naked women in there. It was just crazy. One of the craziest parties I've ever done. Do you know what I mean? And that was in Toronto. I can't remember the name, but I can get that to you at some point.
Well,
but, yeah, that's when that's when it started for me in Canada. Well, I've even been Calgary as well. I went Calgary, I went the other side and done a few things for some guy out there as well. And that was okay on some, I think some reserve land. I don't know how you don't work it out around there, but it was mad. It was different.
Yeah, the way the reserve land is, it belongs to the native community, and our laws aren't applied there, so they can pretty much do whatever they want on their land.
Yeah, I went and done one of those parties, and I think it was an all ages.
Oh, it's all anything. There's once again, like, because it's reserve land, there's no such thing as a law of restrictions. Our police would not be able to go onto a reserve and arrest somebody for doing, feeding alcohol to a minor. Hell, we couldn't even go on there if somebody was getting raped. Like, you'd have to get a warrant and come back, and by the time it would be done. You know what I mean? So but still, like, things for like that where you got a good party going, and as long as they're taking care of the people that are there, that's great.
Yeah, it's cool. I enjoyed it. It's great. You know what I mean? Like I said, I do like Canada. Anyway, as a country, I do. It's calm. I do like Canada a lot.
I like Canada too.
But yeah. The parties were going off back in the day, and I think they still do now. I think you got Logan out there, or Randall out there now, haven't you?
Randall and GQ were here last night. They're performing in a suburb called Oakville tonight, and then we've got Logan D performing on the 21st, I believe.
Yeah, so still active. You know what I mean? We're still repping. And that's what I
well-
like. It's just about opportunities and doing bigger things and showing the youngsters that there's a path in this. Do you know what I mean? Because if there's no path in this, then you kind of lose the new generation if they can't get access to it. It's got to appeal to them as well. Do you know what I mean? So
100%. That's why we talk about all ages staying alive. But with that, I want to ask one more question for you. I had a few, but we're getting along here, so I don't want to tie you up for too long. I got one last question I'm going to ask you. If you could put 5 items in a vault that would encapsulate our rave culture, what would those 5 items be?
5 items that will sum up the rave culture today or in general?
I'm not going to hold you to a date. I say in general. But you got to remember, this vault is going to be opened up in 10,000 years, and we want them to remember what the rave was.
Well, I'll put the whole Bar Rage, all of my Bar Rage series, isn't there? The Bar Rage trilogy or trilogies, that is a history of music.
What is that? Just to explain to the listeners, what is the Bar Rage?
MC-wise, that will give people a good idea of what MCing and the tunes were like for, next to 15 years worth. I'd put a mosaic of some kind of picture of all the fallen soldiers from Stevie I.P.D., Dominator, Stormin, TC Islam, Marcus Intellects. There's loads.
You brought up TC Islam. Can I sidebar for that on that one for a second? You know TC Islam? You knew him?
Yes.
He was a Torontonian, if I'm not mistaken.
I kind of, when I went to America one time, New York, he helped me in Profile out one time. And ever since then, I've always had a soft spot for him. He's always been cool. We always used to keep in touch now and then on Facebook, you know what I mean, and things like that. But it's tragic the way he went. I couldn't believe what's going on.
Do you know anything about the circumstances surrounding his death?
Kind of. I kind of did a little bit of YouTube stuff and trying to, and it's a bit deep.
Would you rather not talk about that?
Yeah, I'd rather not talk about it, to be honest, because I don't know enough at the moment. Do you know what I mean? And I don't want to really I can't really have an opinion on it if I don't know. All I know is it's tragic, and I didn't like it.
And one thing,
I'm saying,
100%. I spoke to his. I don't know if you know, he was married to Lady Dyer, MC Dyer.
Yes, MC Dyer.
I won't dig into this anymore, but I just want to say to my listeners that we are looking into it. Lady Dyer put this on my radar. I was unaware of the circumstances, and I'm curious because it does sound like there's some sketchy stuff going on. And he was a very big, people of Toronto need to remember who TC Islam was, what he did, and look into what happened to him, because there's a story to be told that's worth looking into. It's interesting.
I just don't want him wiped off the map, sort of thing. I just want him to make sure that drum and bass, the scene recognizes his work that he done for the drum and bass scene. Outside of what happened in his personal life and things like that is none of my business, so to speak. I don't really have an opinion on it, but all I know is what he did for drum and bass. I respected him for. He was an ambassador, and on top of that, he actually helped me out. A couple of times when I've been in New York. He's literally helped me out when I didn't have nowhere to stay, things like that. He's put me up in some condo, Do you know what I mean? He's lying, things like that. He'll help a man, and he's always done it. It's always been nothing but good to me. But like you say, until we really know what's going on, I don't even know what's happening with the case, yet. Do you get what I'm saying?
No, I get you, 100%, man. And
it's all a bit quiet. It's all gone a bit quiet at the moment. And until someone basically reaches out to me and says, you know what, Funsta, this is boom, 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 then I'm just going to keep my ears to the ground and wait.
I get you, man. I can respect that. So that's, and I didn't want to deviate from all the other people that we lost along the way. I think that's a great idea. A mosaic that has everyone that we've lost over the years. That's 2 items. Yep. We've got 3 more to go. What do you think?
for rave culture. What
When
do
you
we do with the horns and whistles and things like that?
There you go. Everyone got. We got to lean to the horns and whistles. Like, whatever happened to them?
Yeah, because now it's just mobile phones and light torches.
You don't even. I don't know what it's like over there. We don't have as many smokers over here, so we really always see our people put their cell phones up in the air.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How sad is that, man?
You can imagine Det's line now. Instead of lighter, he goes cell phone, cell phone,
cell phone,
cell phone.
I gotta say that to Det still. You can't even say lighter no more. You just have to say cell phone. But people even say put your cellies up, and everyone's adapting to that culture, and I just think it's a little bit sad when I see that. It's good as well, you can go online and see little videos of yourself MCing and that, but at the same time, we didn't have that. Do you know what I mean? You imagine that you go to a party, you have no phone. You had no phone, so all you had was to talk to people or dance and enjoy what was going on. Now people are doing Snapchatting, they're doing this, they're doing their socials, DJs are doing mixes, free triple deck mixes, and they got the camera up, they're doing their Insta story at the same time. It's like, bro. It's the way the world is going.
I'm with you.
The world is going. But yeah, item number 3. So I've got the Bar HC mixes in there. I've got the Mosaic for the Fallen Soldiers.
You got the lighters and horns. I'm gonna put that as one item.
Yeah, lighters and horns. Yeah, rave gear. If I could, I'd put a picture of everyone in the drum and bass scene. Now, if we could have a class of, 2018 and just get every single person in drum and bass on a picture, that would be sick.
You'd have to do it from a rooftop. Like, remember when you were in school and the janitor would go on the roof of the school and all the students would stand out on the lawn and you'd take a picture?
But you know what? First of all, before I put that in there, I'm going to put in vinyl.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to put in vinyl, a vinyl tune, I don't know. Probably the 9 or something like that. It could be anything, something from Ronnie, something from Shy, something from Dillinger. It would be some vinyl collection post 2000, probably from 96 onwards. A vinyl collection from 96 to 98, vinyl. So that everyone know that to be a DJ, vinyl and 1210s. That's what started the thing.
I like that. That's five. That's 5 items. You skipped over 4 and directly went into 5.
There you go. Vinyl and 1210s. If you was a DJ, you had 1210s, fam.
I know what you're talking about, but I did not ever own them.
Yeah. Now it's just queue up, press a button, and it does it all for you now. But back in the day, we had to work. That's the difference now. It's a lot easier, which is good though, because you didn't want to lug around vinyl. People lugging around, people like Nicky Black Market and Brocky with bags of vinyl, even rough stuff and that, shopping bags type things, trolleys, mashing up their back, satchels filled with vinyl, and that's some heavy stuff, back problems, you get me? So then it turned into CDs, and the CDJs, and then the memory sticks and Serato to go back to vinyls. There's all technology in it, trying to make it easier for everyone to do what they do. But sometimes if you make it too easy, if you're on a horse and the jump is too easy, you don't get the thrill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
what I'm saying.
Ton Piper brought up in an interview that there used to be a trial and error process before something would go to the clubs or get released massively. So for instance, you might make a tune, you'd bring it to the club, you try it out, see how it people reacted, maybe go back, tweak it a little, and if it didn't get a response, you didn't press it, you didn't distro it. But nowadays, because it's so easy to distro things, you'll throw everything out to the world. So there's a lot more stuff you have to sift through to try and find those good tunes because people are throwing everything out there. And I thought that was valid. I thought it was a valid point.
Nonsense, innit?
Yeah. But anyways, with that, thank you for taking the time. Funsta, can you just stay on the phone? What I'm going to do, I'm going to say goodbye to my listeners, and then I want to talk to you for a second. So can you just stay right there?
All right, cool.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that was him, MC Funsta. Check him out online. I will have links below so you can check his music. If you haven't heard him, please listen below. We're going to try and get this guy back out here soon, talking to promoters. So as always, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, guys, peace out.